Joe here. How's it going? I wanted to show you a pretty cool trick I figured out here on the ER-301, which is how to quantize to any scale, or really just any kind of set of notes, using only the 3R1. So that's kind of an example that you just heard. I'm going to show you how I built that. So what we're effectively going to do here is we're going to use a sample player effectively as a lookup table. And that's how we're going to quantize to a particular note value. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to set that up so that we can easily set up our lookup table. I'm going to come in here and put a sine wave oscillator. This is really just so I can hear what I'm doing at this point. It's about where I like to have my oscillator set. I'm going to come in here and, there's probably a number of ways that you could define the values in your lookup table. But since we're trying to quantize notes or pitches here, I think the most convenient way to do it is going to be to do some data entry using a MIDI keyboard that I've got hooked up here. And I've got the VO on A1, so I'm going to select that. And just check, make sure that works. Sounds like it does. So what we're going to do now is set up our lookup table. And the way I'm going to do that is I am going to come down here into admin mode and go to my 6-track recorder. And I'm going to record the output of A1, which is that the volt per octave out of my MIDI keyboard. So what I'm going to do is just play the notes that I want to have in the scale kind of slowly, and I'll turn the volume up here in a second so I can hear it while I'm doing it. And yeah, so I think the goal here, let's just do something pretty easy. We're going to do a C major pentatonic scale. So that's just a 5-note scale. The notes are C, D, E, G, and A. So I'm going to record that, and then I'm going to stop it. Just like that. So let's save the audio, and I'm going to do a new file here, and we're just going to call this major pentatonic. Close enough. All right. Come back up into user mode now. So what I actually want to do is control my volt per octave of the sine wave oscillator, using some control voltage, but putting it through that lookup table. So let's go in here to the volt per octave. I've currently got it set to A1, which is coming off of my keyboard. Let's clear that out. And I'm going to insert a sample player. And we'll load the file that I just recorded. And there it is, major pentatonic. So let's load that up and select it. And if I turn the volume up now, it should just be slowly playing through that scale. Cool. So that's just playing the recorded audio. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and slice that sample up, so I've got some hit points there at each of the notes in the scale. So let's go in here and just slice sample. They're a little hard to see. I don't think there's any kind of vertical zoom or anything on the ER-301, just the horizontal zoom at this point. So I'm going to turn this up, and we're going to do it kind of by ear as well as by eye. It's really, you just kind of have to get a slice in there, somewhere within the sample of that note. And that should be good. So it's not, super exact or anything. One other thing I wanted to show you in here if you come into the admin area and you go to your settings and you scroll down a little bit to the sample player area, I think by default the sample player has this setting right here, slices at nearest zero crossing. I think that defaults to yes. If yours is set to yes, you're going to want to set it to no, because we're not really slicing up an audio sample here. We're slicing up some discrete DC voltages. And there really is no zero crossing because most of these are going to be above zero. So if you set this to no, you'll be able to just kind of slice it exactly where your cursor is sitting. Okay, let's go back up. I'm going to turn the volume up, and I'm just going to insert some slices. I'm going to use my ears a little bit, as well as my eyes to figure out where to put them. Here we go. Okay, I think that's good. So I've got 5 slices in here now. So the next thing I want to do, I don't really want these just playing back, in the exactly as the recorded sequence. So the next thing I want to do is I want to come in here and set up a trigger for this, and I'll just use a sine wave to trigger it. And I'm going to set this up so that I'm just going to roll this way up so it runs, really fast at an audio rate so that it's pinging it, super fast. And if I turn the audio back up now, you should just kind of hear the first sample being played. But you'll notice if I roll up through the slice here, we get some voltage control over that pentatonic scale. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually set something up to control that slice. And I believe I'm just going to set up kind of a canon or something here, kind of a sample and hold on a noise. So I'm going to roll up to the admin channel here. And I'm just going to set I think I may have something set up for my walkthrough of this. Yeah, I've just got a sine wave up here. So I'll just go ahead and use that for this. So this is just a sine wave oscillator that is currently running at 7 hertz. Let's go ahead and slow that down a little bit while we get going. Coming back into the user area, then I'm going to control the slice. And let's set up something to do that. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to insert a white noise unit. And after the white noise, we'll put a sample on hold. And this is where that global chain comes in. I'm going to set the trigger up here so that I can control this as well as, just an envelope trigger with this. So come in here and pick our global channel. We'll pick that sine wave. And I'm going to turn the volume up now, and we're just going to see here. We should, we've got just kind of some random stepped values coming in there. You can see in the bottom half of the display. I'm going to set up the gain so that we're touching each of the notes. I'll turn the volume up to kind of help me adjust that, as well as look at the the movement on the slice display. That's good enough for this demo. I'm not really sure why you wouldn't just set the gain to 1, but I did notice when I set the gain to 1, I don't really seem to get that last sample included in there. I can either set the gain to 1 and set a little bit of positive bias, or I can set the gain a little bit higher. Still need to think through that, but didn't want to stop the demo. So let's also go through and just kind of set up an envelope here. on the main sine wave oscillator that also follows that trigger on the global chain. So we'll come in here and put a linear VCA. And we'll set its trigger to be this sine wave up on the global chain. And we'll put an ADSR envelope on here. We'll just roll the sustain all the way up and maybe give it a little bit of a release time here. And let's see what that sounds like. Oh, we gotta come up here and set the gain on the VCA. Cool. So we've got a pitch coming off of a random sample and hold, and we've got it tracking to this C pentatonic scale. You notice I didn't name it C major pentatonic, and the reason is a pentatonic is just a pentatonic, or I guess any scale is a scale. It's just really defined by the the intervals between the notes. So if I wanted to come over here and I change my mind later, I still want this to be a pentatonic, but maybe I just want it to be a D pentatonic. I can just change my volt per octave here on the main sine wave. So there's that. Let's see, what else here? So another thing I wanted to show you, if we come back down in here into the sample player, I've got this slice down in here, and it's being controlled by this white noise and a sample and hold. So this, I mean, in theory, it should be completely random, right? And let's see here, if we go into the sample player and look at the slices, we've got 5 slices in here, and there's one that corresponds to each note. You can kind of see it, triggering those. So really, I mean, it should be hitting, there's 5 notes. It should be hitting, each one basically randomly about the same amount. But what if I kind of wanted to skew that or add some probability to it, right? So this is a D major pentatonic scale. But what if I wanted to kind of really root it on, the middle note, like the F sharp that's in that scale, right? And then just kind of amp around that, but have that F sharp note occur a lot more often. Well, I've got 5 samples now, so what if I just added, a few more samples here at the F sharp? And that would mean that it would have a better chance of triggering that, right? So let's do that. Come back in here into my slice. 1, 2... I guess it's the 3rd one right here, so let's just maybe put another sample there and another sample there, and we'll turn the volume back up. One more for good measure. Cool. So let's see, you'll remember when I came down and we put a sample player in here. So, one thing I think we could do here, that's just doing, the notes that are recorded. What if we decided that we wanted to add a couple extra octaves of that pentatonic scale? That should be pretty easy to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to save this entire chain. We'll just do a new file, and, this is just kind of a temp file, so I'm just going to name it AAA. And now I'm going to clear the chain. So now we're back to kind of a static pitch. I'll come down here and I'll insert a mixer channel. And inside the mixer channel, let's load up the preset that I created. which there it is, AAA. So now we've got that inside of a mixer channel, we can mix something with it. Whoops. Well, that was fun. Come over here, turn the volume down for just a second. Let's insert a second mixer channel. And I'm going to come over here and let's put in some more white noise for more randomness. And this time, instead of a sample and hold, well, we may still need a sample and hold, but let's come over here and insert a quantizer. And let's roll our levels down to just 2 levels. And let's also bring our post gain down to 2. And I guess we can go ahead and put the sample and hold maybe here in the chain. And let's ping that sample and hold once again with that same sine wave that's sitting up in the global chain. And let's roll the volume up here to see what that sounds like. So essentially what we've done here with this, we've got this other mixer back up here at this level. So the mixer 1 is, kind of constraining us to that major pentatonic scale. And mixer 2 is either adding, nothing or 1 octave or minus 1 octave to it. And if we roll back up into the admin area, we can control the frequency here. And that pretty much brings us back to what you heard at the beginning. So quantizing using the ER-301 on a sample player is a lookup table to quantize to really any scale that you define. Pretty cool, huh? So I guess I'll leave you with this thought. I mean, we took the sample player and we used it as a lookup table, and we used that to control our pitch, and we used it to make sure that pitch got set to some very discrete values. But and we controlled it with some white noise. I mean, I guess first of all, you don't really have to use white noise there, right? We could use any CV input to drive that. But the other thought that kind of blows my mind is that we don't really have to use this to necessarily control pitch either, right? So for example, you could have the same kind of setup on the release of one of your ADSR envelopes, and you could use that to set your release time to one of 3 different values, or maybe if you're doing some phase modulation or something, you could set one of your modulating oscillators to have a few discrete values that it was going to hit, and just kind of have control and have it just be those discrete things by using kind of this lookup table concept. Anyway, I think that's all I have for today, so hope you enjoy. Take care.